They called me a madman. They said God would never fuse with Garou. They said Garou would refuse it. Boy, were they wrong! Oh my god, bro, let's f***ing go, dude! Oh! God has come to One Punch Man. He has arrived and he has fused with Garou. It happened. I called it, okay? There was naysayers, there was haters, but I made a video on it and I said it's very possible that he may throw out his character and just straight up take God's power. That's the only way they can prolong this fight and make it more interesting. And behold, God has cometh. Now, this chapter, God fuses with Garou and we get Cosmic Fear Awakened Garou. And this is where the battle is actually going to start. Pretty much everything we got of Garou versus Saitama before this, it was nothing compared to the fire, which is about to come. And oh my god, dude, there's so much amazing stuff in this. First, real quick, let's talk about what the hell happened. This is a half chapter redraw. Chapter 164, the one we got 2 weeks ago, ended with Saitama and Garou sitting at a table, and fans were just like, WTF, where's the table flip? What the hell is going on here? And for whatever reason, we don't know exactly why yet, whether it's poor planning or they didn't like, maybe Murata and One didn't like the reception that they got from this chapter. Maybe there was a lot of disgruntled Japanese fans or something like that. For whatever reason, they decided to literally redraw this chapter about halfway point through. Instead of Garou talking to Saitama and then them sitting down at a table, now God approaches a defeated Garou and gives him the power. And you know how I know that this is just the beginning? Because in the webcomic, Saitama says here something is coming and Garou lands in almost the exact same manner before their fight is just about to come. So I think this is pretty clear evidence that we are now up to the beginning of the Saitama vs. Garou fight in the webcomic, meaning we still get serious table flips, serious headbutt, and all that good jazz. It still should be coming, but so much more happens in this chapter. We get some more information about God himself, a lot of interesting things that we can actually transfer from what happened in this chapter via telepathy, via like, nobody could see his feet except maybe Garou, but they could see these dimensional clouds appearing and stuff. We'll get into all that in just a little bit. But first, a word from our sponsor. Have you ever got random phone calls, text messages, and emails from scammers?
We were calling about your car's extended warranty.
What the? Well, today's sponsor, Incogni, can help you get rid of all of that. You see, companies collect and trade your personal information, but you have the right to request that they delete it. You just have to know the proper legal jargon. On your behalf, Incogni contacts and requests that all these data brokers that have your information take it down. Information like your social security number, your address, your email, phone number, all sorts of data that you really don't want floating out there on the internet. It's really simple, actually. You just sign up for Incogni, you give them a very limited power of attorney so that they can go and request that these companies take down your data on your behalf. You click a few buttons and then it just starts processing automatically. Within 2 weeks, Incogni had already removed my data from 34 different brokerage firms. The first 100 people to use my link in the description down below and use the code Mastar Media will get 20% off of Incogni. It's really nice to know that there's a company out there helping to protect me, acting on my behalf to get these data firms, these brokerage firms to delete all of my information. Again, you can try Incogni today by clicking the link in the description and get 20% off by using code Mastar Media. So I'm gonna skip like the first few pages of the chapter, nothing really new changes, and basically what we're gonna start at is Garou growing 4 arms, at least explaining it this time, out of pure frustration, and the monsterification is actually making him grow more arms, and the battle commences in a pretty similar way as it did in the first rendition of this chapter. Murata changes some minor things here and there, there, like the panel of Saitama dodging all of these punches, and shows more of the frustration coming out of Garou. In fact, at one point he throws an onslaught of attacks, and Saitama is able to just deflect all of them with one hand. And this completely shatters Garou's like entire mental fortitude. It's almost similar to the way that Garou shattered Darkshine's mental fortitude in their battle. And when Garou does his great power attack, Murata changes this up a little bit as well. To be honest, I kind of like the first rendition of this a little bit better. Like this time he uses the two arms behind him to like charge up an attack, and then it kind of flows into the paneling. I'm not really sure what was the point of even changing any of this. Like if you wanted to change the final few pages or something, like that's fine, but he went ahead and altered some of the art even for the combat, which I kind of feel like was a waste of time. Now, before I go a little bit further, there is a possibility, we don't know for certain, that this is the chapter that's supposed to come out this week. So it's very possible that we may still get a new chapter like very, very soon. And one thing I want to note about this, I was going to make a video on this, I haven't had the chance to make it yet, and I think it's incredibly important that Murata is including this picture in particular because of this shrine that comes out of the earth. So as Garou protrudes the earth, through the sea rises this dragonic shrine, and I have a feeling that this is where the Moonblade is hidden. If you remember the whole chapter with Atomic Samurai, when he gets the Sun Sword, he learns about the myth of the Sun Sword and the Moon Sword, and the Swordmaster who gets them both will be, you know, like the God Swordsman essentially. I have a feeling that this shrine either has something to do with God, or it could be the Moon Sword, or both. I mean, Moon Sword would be particularly interesting because of all these images of the moon that we get from God. So maybe a bad guy will get the Moon Sword, or perhaps Blast and company will come, or maybe Atomic Samurai goes over there and finds it. Not really sure yet, but that's a video topic for another day. I definitely want to come back and talk about this because this dragon actually made an appearance in the webcomic as well, so there's a lot of more information about this dragon and this shrine from the webcomic we can make a whole video on, and I'll get to that later, but let's talk about the chapter for now. Now, we skipped the whole thing with Boros, with the lion guy, and Blast. It's basically just down to 2 panels now. And I don't know what was the point of this. Like, you might as well just include the pages. So he just made them all silhouettes right now. You can see they're kind of in this distorted God dimension, you can tell, and they're saying pretty much the same things, but Murata removed the art. He removed Boros and everything. So I guess Boros is gonna like come back in the next chapter or very, very soon. Now, in the webcomic, Garou in his awakened form actually ends up fighting all of these S-rank heroes on their last ropes, and they're all taken out right now. So it's very possible that this new awakened god Garou may go up against Blast and Boros, or maybe one of his species. We're not 100% sure it's Boros yet, and some of these other characters before continuing the fight with Saitama. I mean, can he take out Blast? Are we gonna see God Garou versus Blast? Like, is this actually happening right now? And again, Saitama throws his consecutive normal punches. We changed this finishing sequence just a little bit. This picture of Saitama is new. Some of these pictures here of Garou are new. And Garou here is saying it's like Saitama is the embodiment of unfairness, and that, yes, that is exactly what he is. He's saying to himself, there's no way that I can lose to someone who's just straight up unfair. And Saitama hits him with one final punch, which shatters his entire exoskeleton. And we get to see Garou come out of the big gargoyle, and he's back to pretty much his human side. He's still got some of like the exoskeleton monster armor on, but a lot of it is blown off at this point. And this is particularly interesting because at the end of the fight in the webcomic, Saitama's final punch shatters the armor off Garou. So you might be thinking here like, oh, Murata decided to just, you know, take out the whole talking BS and just finish the fight here. That would have pissed off fans a lot. And oh, no, we can't have all this teasing about God and not bring God in right here, dude. So as Garou is thinking to himself about how he lost to this unbeatable, unfair guy, God is hearing him telepathically somehow. God has these telepathic powers, and you see this like chaos storm start to form. We get this extremely ominous picture with the moon, and God says to Garou, I can hear you. That's when Moomin Rider and company see the clouds start to form. And look at this picture. It looks like multiple levels of like dimensions are opening, you know? And I think that in its own right is a huge indicator as to the powers of God. I mean, this isn't just a cloud. There is literally slates of different dimensions for which God needs to go through, I guess, in order to appear on Earth. So in C. Emminglep's fan manga, of these god beings being 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional creatures, it's definitely seeming more like the case. I mean, this really feels like Murata is taking C. Emminglap's fan manga and like running with the idea because he liked it so much. And honestly, I think that's really cool. And with a thunderous pound, the foot of God smashes onto the earth. Look at this shot. Look at the scale. It just, like, that giant thundercloud barely is enough for his foot to come through with this chaos lightning shooting out everywhere with overlapping waves. A second foot smashes down onto the earth. You can see the rubble of these cities just to add such an incredible element of scale to the massive size of this foot. And I love the layout to this picture alone. This is just such an unbelievable piece of art in its own right, and I'm gonna explain to you why. First of all, there's chaos from so many different directions, yet it's so easy to digest. You have diagonals pushing from both the ceiling and the ground where the water's supposed to be, down into the foreground to emphasize the distance of each step, give a sense of foreshortening, give a sense of scale, and also brandish the action of the lightning storm. So you have diagonals, you have massive senses of scale, you have action, you have chaos, and it's so clean. You just turn the page and you're just like, holy shit. I mean, this guy's art is on another level. It's at this point that Saitama and everybody else starts to recognize these strange thunderclouds, and then we see Garou floating up into the air like he's being sucked in by an alien tractor beam as God is walking towards him. What does this tell us? It shows us above that Saitama and company cannot see the feet, but they can see the thunderclouds. Why that is, I don't really know yet. Perhaps Garou can see the feet, perhaps only the readers can see the feet. Perhaps you need to be possessed by God in order to see him, which is why Homeless Emperor was able to see him on the moon, but Zombie Man was not. That's seeming more likely the case. This definitely opens up a lot of questions about God and how people are able to communicate with him. There's telepathy involved. Why can nobody else see him but Garou? Or is Garou knocked out at this point and it's just the reader who's able to see this? Why would Murata and One be showing us this? If he's invisible, like perhaps he's just, I don't think he would just be invisible, because look at the way that his feet are smashing down onto the ground. That would create massive earthquakes, and nobody really seems to notice about that at all. So it appears that God is in another like dimension or parallel universe, and he's kind of able to like incorporate a phased version of himself into this universe somehow. Obviously, he's able to talk to whoever he wants, especially when they're on their last ropes, when they're desperate, their most desperate point. That's when God tells people that he'll grant them their power. And also, for whatever reason, another big piece of information about God, the way that he gives people power, not always, because Homeless Emperor wasn't like this, but for both Tatsumaki and Garou, he took the image of the person that was essentially closest to them or that they looked up to the most. And he's like the devil. He's like giving them the forbidden fruit. And he's like, look, I'm your dad. I'm your big brother. Take this and eat it and it'll help you, right? And only the strong are able to reject that. Tatsumaki being the only one that we really know of that was able to reject it. But Garou here, completely knocked out, given up because Saitama's just unfair and he's had it and he doesn't have any other choice, sees the hand of his master Bang reaching out to him and says, come. And Garou grabs hands with him. It's at this point that the final ascension has begun, and through the clouds, this looks like God's head. And there's even one little part of this that looks like an eye. I'm not sure if that's on purpose, but it definitely looks like his eye. And this whole page, I just envision it in my head as Garou is slowly lifting up towards the clouds and his body is encompassing with like light. He starts to transform as the face of God literally comes through the clouds down towards him like a giant comet coming from the heavens. Just such a breathtaking piece of art, man. I can't wait to see this animated. Well, I can wait. It's probably gonna be like 27 years from now. Saitama looks up into the darkness and says something's coming, and that's when the new cosmic fear awakened Garou arrives. And again, this is exactly like the webcomic when their battle was about to start. By the way, this picture of Saitama's face, so damn funny. This is like the perfect new meme template for any time anyone says anything really stupid or has a bad take. Now we have it. We get to see Garou's galaxy brain form. Like, he's actually, like, memes aside, this man is physically galaxy brain. Saitama says, Garou, what's up with your face? And God Garou says something that can counter the fist that is turned against God, which is what Sage Centipede said. I guess that would be the fist of God. Saitama says, sounds like he's talking in a bathroom or something. So what he's saying is there's like an echo or like a double voice coming from Garou. So this is like the true possession. Garou, I don't even know if he's in there anymore. This could just entirely be God, or it could just be like Homeless Emperor, who just got an insanely massive power boost. He went from just regular ass human to dragon level monster just by getting a taste of God's power. Imagine how strong Garou, who's already far above dragon level, is going to get from this God power infusion. That's why y'all should be crazy excited right now, because this fight is going to be crazy. And I kind of do see Saitama potentially getting a challenge here. And even if he doesn't, God's gonna realize that someone like Saitama exists, and he's gonna want to fight him himself. And the final panel here is just of Galaxy Brain Garou saying that this is the awakened, the Cosmic Fear Mode awakened Garou. And he is a sparkly boy, but I think his power is going to be astronomical. And I mean, I think he would just obliterate Boros. He's got to be Planet Buster level at this point. I mean, we had doubts about it in the last few chapters because he was like mountain level or whatever. Dude, I am so pumped. I hope we get another chapter soon, but even if we don't, this just makes me even more excited for what's to come. Like, that means that we are almost certainly gonna get serious table flip. I mean, I think Murata and one listen to fans, and I think the reason that they redrew this was just disappointment. I mean, fans want table flip so bad, and I want serious headbutt too. And we got kind of like homages to it in these like chapters recently with the battle between Garou and Saitama, but we didn't get the actual thing. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen now, and it's gonna happen real soon. And yeah, we could get table flip next chapter, or in 1 month, or shoot, even a few days potentially. Anyways, guys, I am so pumped. I have like video upon video upon video I gotta make, talking about this chapter, about God, about the water temple, so much stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribed, notifications enabled. If you like my videos, I appreciate a thumbs up, and if you hit that notification button. And holy crap, guys, we One Punch Man fans are eating good. Woo! What a chapter. See ya.